And one letter in particular caught my eye. It's this one. This is the envelope it came in, butterflies and flowers. And perhaps it's my background in politics, but something about an unreturned addressed piece of mail with flowers on it in handwriting makes me very scared indeed. There's something intuitively that makes me wary about it. The good news is, no anthrax, but this was the message inside. Quote, "The United Church is now the hand of evil and the devil. You are the lowest form of scum and no longer represent the Christian faith. You are traitor to the Lord Jesus Christ, our country, and to the innocent, stupid sheep that actually believe the foul stench that you preach on a weekly basis." You see, I have to say, folks actually do follow the sermons online, so just so you know. "Our family were proud members of the United Church at one time, but today you are the mouthpiece for, get this, folks, globalists, terrorists, child molesters, perverts, and communists." Then in caps, "Judgment Day is coming." There's more in the letter, of course, but you get the gist. There's no name, of course, attached in terms of the parable of the sower, pure thorns. Pure thorns. No response needed, no weeding necessary. So on this lovely August Sunday, clearly I'm the devil. It's what she looks like. And you can prayerfully engage with what of the categories of globalist, terrorist, child molester, pervert, or communist you all are. So welcome. It makes me, however, wonder who the writer is. Right? One of my rural congregants, when I was out in the country in Bruceville, said to me something critically important in terms of biblical exegesis. She said, "You know, in a book that preaches about salvation for the slaves, about liberation for all, particularly those who are downtrodden, a book that preaches love and forgiveness, it's amazing how some people can find such bad news in it." Because you know, her reading, his reading, their reading, this author of this letter, has bad news for the vast majority of the world. They, in fact, are part of a minuscule few people, very, very few, and from their lofty and exclusive perch, they will warm their toes on the hellfires below, where billions are roasting, including the majority of so-called Christians, all the other faiths, all those of no faith, children, the majority of the world's children, lots of them. And I'm pretty sure this writer's God is a big, brawny, muscular, masculine, cosmic monster. The stuff of fears and nightmares. It's a lonely perch, too, of course, where they sit. Most of the folk that this writer is going to run into in the world are their enemies, for whom there is no forgiveness. It's rocky soil. I hope that they watch this sermon. I hope that they join us online for this worship service, because if they do, and they are, they should know, and I believe somewhere in their own soul they already know this, that what they write is neither Christian nor right. In fact, the Jesus of the parable of the sower, found in 3 of the 4 Gospels, so it's as accurate as any, shows that Jesus is pretty fed up with folk who take words of love, forgiveness, and inclusion and turn them into words of exclusion, judgment, and hatred. The Jesus who forgave even the torturers and killers, who ended Jesus' own ministry. The Jesus who said, "Let the one who's perfect throw the first stone," at which, by the way, all of those people crept away. They didn't give their names either. The Jesus who told Peter to lay down his sword and allow Jesus to be captured, The Jesus who said, most importantly perhaps, whoever hurts a child has the most to answer for. Can one even conjure up a Jesus who would condemn the majority of the world's children to eternal damnation? A Jesus who would let the stone throwers kill the woman? A Jesus who would kill those who had killed Jesus? A Jesus who would return violence with violence? Even a cursory reading of our Bible says that that's impossible. That is not the Jesus of Scripture, but that indeed is a stony path. It is indeed witnessing Jesus' life and making it align with our own hatred, violence, and self-importance. It is a thorny land. There's, by the way, a political side to this parable as well. There always is in the Bible. At the time that it was written, Jews had to pay a quarter of everything they earned to, in Jesus' time, Herod, the turncoat governor of their province. They had to pay about a quarter of everything they earned to Rome, the occupiers, and they had to pay a quarter of everything they earned to the priestly caste. So they only got to take home about 25%. And Jesus is saying, even on 25%, even without wealth or success or power of any kind, you can change the world. You can take what little you have and with generosity watch it grow into a faith that captures hearts and minds and changes us and our world. Fertile ground. I hope the writer of this letter listens to this reflection because one suspects that they don't really even understand their own worth, their own miraculous existence, their own belovedness. This just speaks of self-hatred turned outwards. All that self-loathing. And we are seen as a pinnacle of creation. One suspects that the tiny club they're part of their perceived righteous, aren't really so righteous either. And then if you really get down to it and you start weeding them out, ain't none without sin. Wouldn't be anybody left, not even enough for Game of Bridge. Hope the writer is listening, because they should know that our community of globalists, terrorists, child molesters, perverts, and communists welcomes everyone, obviously. You know the old joke, when they say that the church is full of hypocrites, our response should always be, it's not full, there's always room for more. Because as Jesus taught us, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, if we're your enemy, writer with flowery stationery, that means you're supposed to love us back. Yep. You're supposed to love us. That's the call upon you. If you really consider Trinity-St. Paul's to be the pinnacle of evil and be the devil, guess what? Welcome to our pews next Sunday. Love us back. It's the calling, the biblical calling upon you. Now, of course, we don't work our way into the promised land. If we did, the promised land would never materialize. Jesus, the testimony of the biblical witness, all of that would be unnecessary. We are called to be fertile land, rich soil. We're called to listen. We're called to try to understand, never ever claiming to know or understand truly in everything. We're called to humility. We're called to hospitality, to the strange and the stranger, to our sworn enemies first and foremost. What we do with our lives is a thank you for the forgiveness and the love we've been shown. It's a thank you. It's not an earning anything. We didn't earn this joy. We could never earn this blessedness, this beautiful, incredible life, this astounding love. We can't earn it. How could we? All we're asked to do is drop our egos long enough, just hear another voice. Put aside our intellects for a moment, grasp the mystery, and it truly is a mystery of liberation. Far from judging the other, we're called to learn, we're called to listen, we're called to love. We're called to be open to the seeds sent and do our best to get out of the way of the sun and the rain and the hope, to let them grow. Fertile soil. See then the promised land. We don't have to wait for it. It's going to be among us already, just as Jesus promised. See, if any children are hurt, any children, it ain't no promised land. It's hell. Tiny club witnessing the damnation of queer children, children of other faiths, unbaptized children, any children but ours, and by the way, only our perfect children. That isn't heaven. That is hell. It's the very definition of hell. It's the one we witness right now, of course, on the news every night, brought about by those who see only their way as the right way, and who aren't open to conversion. Not conversion by the Spirit. Who can't be changed by listening. Who aren't listening. Who can't hear. Who don't hear the Spirit calling. And if there's no chance for the writer of the letter, any of the rest of us, because we're imperfect, maybe even horribly flawed humans, even then, where's hope? Seeds are the very image of hope. Any farmer or gardener will know the miracle of bare earth, small seed, becoming food or beauty. It needs fertile soil. It needs air. It needs rain and sun. It needs care. We only provide part of that equation. We are, Jesus tells us, co-creators with this astounding creation of new life. Only our own arrogance embodied in the likes of, and we see it out there, of Monsanto or Nestle, sees seeds and water or air as commodities to be packaged and to be sold. The earth belongs to its living beings, Jesus tells us. We are its protectors. As we witness the destruction of our earth, the thorns and the rocks, and ignore it all, where is the hope if not in our hands, in our lives? As faith itself doesn't belong to one group, neither does air or water or seeds or food. It isn't there to be hoarded. It's there to be shared by those most unlikely of people, ourselves and our enemies. Wow. In this parable, Jesus doesn't hold back. The words, the promised land, can be snatched away, but only if we let it. There's something precious in what we're given in faith, and we are called to something. Calling isn't easy either, he says. It's unpopular and it's taxing. It costs. Like anything of worth, it costs. It costs our time, it costs our resources, it costs our labor, it costs our lives, let's face it. But if we deal with it, we deal with the thorns. Don't ignore them. If we commit, if we listen, if we tend to look after this precious gift you're given, this life and everything in it, this planet and its health, our children, all of our children, the abundance is also promised to us. There is evil in Jesus' world. Of course there is. He talks about it in this parable. He looks at it, and it looks like ignoring the planet. Forgetting our responsibility, not loving and tending to it and to ourselves and others. It looks like hatred, and it looks like judgment. It looks like closed minds. But, and it's very good, but, with the very little we have, we can change everything. With words, with labor, with commitment and time, the Spirit promises everything we need. Our care is our thank you for the seeds of hope, the air of faith, the rain and the sun of community, the necessities of life. We can do this. UN report just came out last week, and it talks about how bad things are. What it leaves out is you and me. What it leaves out is a world of people committed to faith in the future. It leaves out the fact that we have time to change everything, and we can. And we will. So promises biblical lore. We can even learn to love those who hate us. Yes, we can. That makes us fertile ground. So remember this. The world tells us we're 1 in 8 billion, that we're worthless. Faith tells us we're a once-in-history miracle, made in the image of God, never will be anyone exactly like you, and never was anyone your it. The world tells us only the wealthy and famous can make a difference. Faith tells us only people like us, ordinary people like you, people like me, everyone, the vast majority of people, united by a faith in the future, can overcome and will empires and emperors. The world tells us people of color, old people, young people, children, people of different abilities, women, LGBTQ2S people, tells us we're not important. Faith tells us that only those that are overlooked and oppressed and discounted can change reality in the world. Only those. The world tells us that one person can never make a difference. And we turn, as Mark said, to Christ, and we say one person can make all the difference in the world, and has and will and does. And so can we. Have faith, my friends. It's going to be a joyous journey. Be fertile ground.